Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 2 a.m. Campfire Club. I'm Ethan,
I'm Reagan.
And I'm Madelyn.
and yeah, we're back, as I say every week. I really do say that every time in the intro. I'm like, yeah, we're back. Yeah, so this season we haven't really done any serious topics, because we wanted to make the podcast fun after the chaos that was the end of last season. But we still want to do serious topics. So as we're starting to reach the close of season 2, we are bringing, I guess, our first serious topic of the season. So, yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way before we start. We are still planning to do real things and not just talking about whatever random crap pops in our head that week. We are talking this week about.
We'll be talking about anxiety and all things that come with it. It's a train wreck, I guess. At least for
Child
me.
gangs, children screaming sound effect.
But warning, this does include some things that
They're serious. These are
yeah,
real topics, like I said. So be prepared for some.
Yeah, it gets a little dark, everybody, but it's okay. We're fine now. So I guess I'll just kind of start. Obviously, a lot of people, I don't know, at least that I've talked to, have really experienced anxiety on like the level that I have, because mine started in elementary school, unlike most people. Really fun. Not really. My parents were like, "What is wrong with you?" And I was like, "I don't know, man." But it mostly started in like kindergarten, which is really sad. But in case people don't know, I am a very tiny person, and back then I was fairly wider than I am now. Lots of freckles, very bright blonde hair, and apparently at the school that I went to, nobody liked that. So we experienced a lot of bullying. So that number one caused me to be like, I don't like people. So we developed something called social anxiety. Really fun. I just did not talk to people at all. I had a solid 2 friends because the bullying got so severe that like because we had a sand playground at my school. People would throw sand in my eyes every day at recess. Really fun. We tried telling the teachers, not that they didn't believe me, but they were just like, it's just boys. They probably like you. And I'm like,
That's not helpful.
but my eyes hurts.
That's not helpful.
Yeah, there's sand in my
That
eye.
changes nothing.
And like, I loved my teacher.
Just boys
like,
being boys.
And I was like,
Oh my gosh, I hate that phrase so much.
I hate that excuse.
Saying.
I was like, ma'am, but my eyes hurt.
That's
can't
no
see.
excuse. It's no excuse.
And like,
for
they
bullying.
really were. It was kind of just like a slap on the wrist. They were like, just don't do it again. They did it again.
Yikes.
So,
just don't do that.
Just stop. Just don't do it.
Stop it. Get some
It's
help.
easy. Just say no.
Just say no.
Just say no to throwing sand in other kindergartners' eyes.
Stop it. No. And it worked. That's the end of the story, right?
Yeah. Not really. We have a lot more years to go. But I went to that school till like first grade. So kindergarten ends. I have 2 great friends, and I'm like, these are the only people I'm gonna spend my life with. And then like halfway through first grade, let's just say a lot of the old people in my family just they out. They were now 6 feet under the ground. So really fun. And little Madelyn did not know what to do with that. So she was like, dang, that's really sad. So she decided in art class several times to draw said people as an art project in first grade. And they were like, what's that? Madelyn, it looks great. And I'm like, oh, it's all the dead people in my family. And then they told my parents. My parents are like, wait, what? And I conveniently drew them in all black with no faces. Really fun. So my parents were like, we should see someone because she's clearly not okay. And the bullying hadn't stopped. So they took me, I specifically remember, they took me to this guy in like not just some random guy, a psychiatrist. We're not just
No, they
just some
found
guy
this
actually.
guy on the street.
Yeah, we just
They're like, this guy seems qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. No. But they took me to a psychiatrist, and I specifically remember walking in, and he just had a bunch of Star Wars toys. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then he tried to get me to talk about stuff, and I'm like, but all the toys. And I just wanted to look at all the characters, and he's like, so I guess they did like a, I don't know, basis test, and just asking me random questions with me being like 7. I was like, I didn't really care, I guess.
Yeah.
And they were like, she's not depressed or anything. She's just coping. So that was that. And then we then moved after I finished first grade to where I currently live now, which we will not give my address because that's where.
We're on screen right now, Ray.
But they were like, well, she'll be fine. And they're like, okay, cool. And then we get to second grade, and I remember it's the first day of school. I'm the new kid on the block. Wow. Great. My teacher had asked me to stand in front of the classroom and state my name, what school I previously went to, how old I was, and I don't know, like some random question like what's my favorite color or some crap like that.
I hate that.
I literally started crying in front of the class because I couldn't stand there and talk in front of the class.
That's not fair to a kid.
Dude.
Just say it for them.
Yeah. I looked at her and I went, I don't want to. She's like, you're okay. Like, it's fine. And the best I could with like some tears down on the floor, was like, hi, I'm Madelyn. And she's like, you have to speak louder. I'm like, I can't.
I hate another thing that you shouldn't say. Like, this
like,
is first grade.
I'm like,
this is first grade. You're like 6. No, this was second grade?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then you're 7. You're like 7.
It's still
7. You're about to turn 8. And it was
what are you thinking?
I changed schools from 1st to 2nd grade, and guess what? They didn't make me stand up in front of the class because I would have cried.
Yeah, I think it was because there were like several new kids in my class, so I was like one of like 5. So I was like, okay. And don't get me wrong, my 2nd grade teacher, love her, amazing woman. It was just that moment she figured out that Madelyn doesn't like speaking in front of a class. So that was really fun. And then like nearly no bullying at that school. I think it was kids at my old school were just built a little different. Yeah, once I got to my new school, it was pretty fine. I was doing great. And we get towards like the end of the year when they start doing like those like we had like a textbook and we had like benchmark tests. And that's when they timed us to do the benchmark test. And I, no joke, literally just sat there with a pencil looking at the page and like didn't do anything because I kept staring at the clock. And my teacher came by and she's like, Madelyn, like it's time, like you need to fill out the answers. I'm like, I don't have enough time. So I did that test and I was a pretty good student. I was fine. I did fine. I wasn't anything. And then I got like an F on the test. And my teacher was like, that's not normal for you. What happened? And then she saw that I didn't fill out like 60% of the answers. She's like, Madelyn, you know how to do this. Like, I've seen you do it before. And I'm like, I didn't have enough time. I was too scared. And they were like, well, time to go back to the psychiatrist. And they're like, yeah, she has anxiety. And I was like, great. So what do you do for a 2nd grader with anxiety? You can't do anything. Because I think at that point, I was still too young to like go on meds or anything for it. So they kind of were just like, I got my first 504 plan. Basically meaning I get extra time on everything that I need. So, because I think 3rd grade is when we started FCAT testing.
Yeah.
3rd.
Yeah,
it's like the writing and FCAT. Now they're changing that, and now kids don't have to take the FCAT, which is crap.
Good. No, that's good.
I mean, it's good. We know what they're doing. They're replacing it with another test.
Yeah, I mean, standardized testing for 3rd graders is absurd.
It's so stupid.
They're far too young to be taking standardized tests.
Yeah. And then I looked at like my Skyward, which is like what we use for grading and stuff. All of my 5th, 4th, and 3rd grade stuff is in there. Like for testing.
Yeah, mine is too.
I was like, oh, bruh. So, point of the story,
Let's
standardized
put that
testing with
on
the graders
screen
is dumb.
now.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
The way that Florida's education system is set up is just like
It is so
strange
trash.
to me.
It is so bad.
Little
can't,
me
like,
used to love standardized testing, though.
I loved standardized testing because I was good at it.
Yeah.
It was my worst fear, man. I could not. But I did fine.
I always
That's the
finished
problem.
first.
Me
Had
too.
so much time, and I was so proud of myself. Like the
No,
highest
man.
score, and I was like, "This is great. This is the
No.
life."
No.
Yeah.
Mine is the complete opposite. I was the last person to finish, but I still did fine. I did better pretty much than everyone else. It's in like the top whatever. But yeah, for people, a 504 plan is basically I get accommodations for like standardized testing and like kind of everything, only if I need it. But like the compromise is like I can't just push everything off and then ask for extra time. Like I need to be doing it. Now, when we get to high school, let's just say we use it to our advantage a little bit. Because when you're in ninth grade and you're still trying to figure everything out, you use it. It's great. And then they made me go to like before school tutoring, and like our school started at like 8:20, so I would show up at like 7:30 in the morning to like practice my math skills because I'm insanely bad at math. Well, I'm not
There's
bad.
so many people that just have a hard time understanding math. So that's
See,
completely
and the
fair.
thing is, I'm not even that bad. I'm above like because they have like a whole plan for Florida students being like, if you're in this grade, you should be doing this and taking this class because you should be on this level. I was always at least one class ahead, but all of my friends were like 2, so I thought I was dumb.
Mhm.
So there's that. But like, it was like a group of like 5 students. We would go with this one teacher every morning and work on math. It was so nerve wracking because I'm like, dang, do they really just think I'm dumb? That was not it. I was just as capable of anyone else. Yeah, but like 3rd through 4th, it was kind of fine, and I just took extra time on the tests, and which is really weird because they've changed the whole extra time thing. It really was I just take as long as I need to like finish, but for like SAT and ACT, they have like a specified amount of extra time, which makes sense, but also
Yeah, because it wouldn't be fair to everyone else if
yeah.
Yeah.
Did I finish all those sections with that extra time? Yes. Do I like sitting there for the entire school day? No. So then we get to middle school. I'm like, I'm okay. Still chilling with the anxiety. We're just like, well, kind of went on the down low. I had friends. There was no severe bullying. And then we hit 7th grade. Lovely 7th grade. All the children are demons. I swear. 7th graders and 10th graders are the worst human beings on this planet. They are.
My experiences were worst with 6th graders and 9th graders.
Yeah.
That's
Those
true.
were my worst years.
But 7th graders are ruthless, man. And our teachers, ruthless. But I remember it was an English class, and we had to memorize a poem that was like 2 pages long. I don't even remember who it was by, but she had like 2 options. And of course, I picked the shorter one of the 2. And she goes, all right, yeah, he's got to memorize it. I got it memorized, doing great. And then it gets to the day of that we're supposed to do it. And she's like, yeah, so you're going to present it in front of the class. That was not it for me. I tried and miserably failed. I literally forgot it on the spot. I stood in front of that class and I was like, no. And like, you know, in 6th grade when we had science fair, I think it was the only year that we did science fair. Me trying to go up and present that project, I did it. Dude, I was shaking the entire time. But I did because I didn't have to memorize it.
Yeah.
So like, I just looked at the board and I was like, just calm down. You'll be okay. Obviously, I did it, but like now 7th grade, they're like, you need to memorize the entire 2-page poem. I was like,
yeah, that's crazy.
It wasn't the memorizing part. It was saying it in front of everyone else. So
yeah,
I went up to her after and I was like, dude, can I please do it during lunch and not do this in front of a bunch of other people? And she was like, fine. Only reason I think she did that was because if she didn't, then I could call BS and get her in some trouble for not following my 504 plan. Great. Came in handy. I tried doing that 5 times and still could not do this stupid memorization thing. And she was like, I'll just take your best score, which was like a 75, but like that wasn't good enough for me. And she was like, it's fine. it's just one grade. And me being like the perfectionist that I was at the time and like wanting to get all A's, that was not it. So I went to my mom and literally just like started crying because I was like, I can't, like, I literally just can't stand in front of people and talk to a crowd. And then just trying to do the whole memorization thing, it was a mess. And I was literally distraught. She had to write an email to my teacher being like, just kind of like, yeah, probably gonna go and see someone because this was just not it. Not blaming you, but she's very distraught over this. And my teacher felt bad, so I think she put my grade in a little bit higher because I literally had a panic attack in her room several times over this. So then again, go see the great psychiatrist. They were not very helpful at first. And they were just kind of like, well, she's had a history of it. So, like, and she's been dealing with it for this long. She could just keep dealing with it. And I was like, no.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. She hasn't
They're like,
died
just get
yet.
her, just get her some therapy. She'll be all good. I'm like, I don't think that's gonna cut it because we had tried like therapy earlier, and it was just like all the people were just kind of They weren't really great, and we had known it with this place for a little bit, but like it was the only place that our insurance would take because I have OCPS insurance. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So there are very, very few places you can go for certain things like that. But they finally decided to put me on medication, which was the best thing ever. And I know people are like, there's this side where people are like, whoa, why do you need to take medication? Anxiety is like a normal thing. I'm like, well, when it enables your ability to literally do anything, it's kind of needed. So
yeah, that's fair. There's a level to where you should try and handle it on your own, and then there's the level where it's too much for one person to handle, and if you can't get help, you should take it.
Yeah. And like, what was that? This is 7th grade, no more than like 12 years old. And I was so scared to take the medication because I thought people were going to laugh at me and just be like, well, because I've had this problem recently too, where people call me like a drug addict for taking anxiety medication. And I'm like, dude, I literally, it's such crap.
That's
because
horrible.
it really did make a change.
Yeah, who's been...
These are people in high school that said that.
Yeah, but who?
But who?
Who?
I need you to name names right now.
Friend.
Oh, wow.
Friends I'm no longer friends with from
That's not okay.
this entire year, yeah. Were they joking about it? Joking about it? Probably, because that's their whole thing.
Still, like...
I know.
There were people who made fun of me for my last name because my last name is Her.
Which is such crap.
How you refer to a girl. So I was like, these were my friends, I thought, too. And I was like, no.
Yeah, it's just... But, like, my anxiety was getting to a point where, like, I literally, like, just couldn't do anything because I was too scared to do anything. Because it's just... I'm scared. Like, I literally... Talking to people, like, meeting new people was hard for me. So I just couldn't. And in 7th grade, also, like, at the beginning of the year, I was not a very talkative person. I had been. That has since changed a little bit. But they asked me if I was mute because I literally... They'd never heard me speak before, ever in that class. And I was like... I replied with a nodding yes, and I said no word.
You said yes, you were?
Well, I said, oh, wait, no, I said no.
You're like,
I was like, so you can speak? I was like, And they were like, then why don't you talk? And I was like, because I don't want to. And they were like, whoa, oh my gosh.
Just
like
do
boys.
the peace sign and then slowly fades out.
But we're now friends now. And it's kind of a joke. But I'm like, yeah, remember when you thought I was mute? They were like, yeah, that was kind of dumb. It was like the first day of class, too. I was like, I don't know. I just didn't like talking to people. And because I was genuinely scared of people. But
there's a lot of people in my classes, too, that just don't speak. And then the people in the class would just be like, can you speak?
Yeah.
And I'm like, they don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them to make them. Calling them out just makes it worse. That makes them want to even less. It just makes someone insecure. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. It was just, oh my gosh. And, like, I was in a huge friend group in middle school. I probably talked to about half of people in that group. Like, seriously. I just really couldn't talk to people. It was really bad. But then we get to high school, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are going to be my friends forever. No. We got through the first year of, like, 9th grade, and by the end of it, I was not getting invited to things. No one texted me if I was okay, and I was like, well, that's tough because... Like, yeah, I was doing things, but, like, I was still free. So that's where my anxiety became, like, really bad because I thought I was a terrible person. I was like, do they just not want to talk to me because I'm not cool enough anymore? Because I guess you could say I was popular in middle school, but everyone just knew who I was because my mom worked there and because I was in the group of all the popular kids. So it was just like, but I never really did anything. I don't know. Because I was, again, too scared of people. But yeah, that fell off after ninth grade, and it didn't help that I, after band, literally developed an eating disorder because I was like, for marching band, I ate a lot, but I was also burning a lot of calories. So then after marching season, I was like, dang, people are telling me that I look big, which was really weird because I'd never been called big before. So I was like, dang, which I wasn't. I was finally a normal weight at that point.
Yeah.
So then I literally just like stopped eating all of ninth grade. Like I wouldn't eat breakfast, I wouldn't eat lunch, and then I'd go home and have dinner and then do it all over again. And then wouldn't drink water. Really fun time. Really fun time. So that just made it even worse. So in the beginning of sophomore year, great. And I had a relationship in freshman year. Never date anyone. Please don't. Don't date in high school. Please don't.
Yeah, don't date in high school. Never date anyone.
It is so bad. And I would know. Because, yeah, they know. And just don't. And they literally broke up with me for no reason. They were like, well, bye. Over Instagram.
Yeah,
really
that's
fun.
it. Just
Really
well,
fun.
bye, period.
Yeah. And then we had
Said.
this... And then freshman year, it was like towards the end of the year, there was this one kid that just like especially didn't like me. And I didn't like not being liked by people because I thought everybody had to like me in order for me to like live my life. Now I really could care less.
I've had
But
that too.
I had joined this bigger friend group of like band people. We all came from different schools. So we're like, oh, we all happen to know some people that are then related and whatever. So we did that. And he was one of those people where he liked every single girl in our friend group, like every single one of us at different times. And none of us liked him back because we're like, no, you're bestie vibes only. Sorry. That's not it. And him and I become very close over just like anxiety wise. And then he turned like psychotic. And I told him he needed to get help because he was talking about a lot of things that were not very healthy. And I was like, you really need to go get some help. That made him angry. So then he proceeded to blame me for all of the girls that didn't like him back. Very weird. Saying how I ruined all his friendships and how I was such a terrible person. And I was like, well, maybe I am, I guess. I don't know. And then he took it again a step farther, posting stuff all over Instagram and Snapchat for everyone to see. And then all of my friends showing me, and I'm just like, that literally didn't happen. And then him just being like, I threatened him or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I pulled you aside because you were saying stuff about me and I told you to stop. I'm like, so yeah, I did pull you aside, whatever. And then he just got so angry that he decided that he was going to go to the safe office and report me. Really, really fun. So I found that out through another person and was like, yeah, he reported you to the safe office and the cops. And I was like, I didn't do anything. And what was funny is because we had all of this stuff on him for literally like harassing me. And like all of my friends went in and we all like, because this is a little graphic, but he threatened to push me down the stairs and said he didn't give any remorse if I died and split my head open at the bottom of the stairs. He said he would let the life drain out of me. And I was like, yeah,
That's
crazy.
not okay.
Oh
That's
my God.
insane.
So we decided to then go to the safe office because, and like our guidance counselors, because we were like, he's taken this too far. I did nothing wrong. So I'm like panicking because he freaking reported me to the cops and I was like, I didn't do anything. So I'm like crying in the middle of our courtyard freshman year and I'm like, this is insane. Like I literally didn't do anything. If anything, he's the one that should go get help. And we went to the office and fit out like the like witness statements and like we're like we can print out stuff of like stuff that he said to like show that like he said something that was not very good and healthy for a person to be saying about another person. And they literally did nothing. They called me in and they were like, yeah, so we pulled him in aside separately and he said that he has two options. And I was like, he has two options? He gave me an ultimatum and it was either we could sit in a room together with guidance counselors and figure this out, or just do nothing about it and just forget about it.
Guidance counselors suck, is what I've
It
learned.
was so bad.
So many times when I was getting bullied,
Yes!
I was getting bullied. When I was getting bullied, they didn't help at all either.
It's
helped.
not it. And it was like, and I was like, I don't want to be in a room with this kid. I'm like, he is psychotic. I do not. And I was already around him a lot because of band. And I was like, I literally avoid this kid with my entire life. I'm like, can I please do like a no contact contract or something? Like, he can't, I don't know, anything. And they were like, whoa, that's going to take some time. And they're like, you really don't want to talk it out with him? I'm like, no, I don't. I was like, I don't want to. And I was like, I thought maybe I could post something with my dad being a teacher or anything. Nothing. Literally nothing. So after they called me in that time and I said no, nothing got done. And like all of his friends that he had acquired like over middle school were siding with me, and he was angry about that. I was like, no, that's just because you're
Maybe that
crazy.
should say something to you that
Yeah.
all of your friends aren't with you.
He
Means
literally,
maybe you've done something wrong.
that's what I'm saying. And it was just the whole thing. So it kind of just like trailed off because I guess he found out that he had no one in his corner and that he is a pathological liar and is very psychotic and really needs help. So that was the end of that. So really ending off high school the first year with a bang, I guess. And so it's like sophomore year and it's fine. And then I have another thing with friends. I like literally couldn't even tell you what it's about now, but it ended up with me being severely depressed, not going to do anything in the middle of marching season. It was bad because the friends were in band and she was like my best friend at the time, and it was just like a whole mess. And I like removed myself from that big band group that I had like done stuff with, which was, I was like, maybe all these people keep leaving me because I'm the problem. I wasn't. So it ended up with me becoming just like severely depressed, like not leaving my room, always sleeping, not eating. It's rough. And just like not wanting to do anything, not finding joy in anything. Like me trying to go to school was, it was like every day my dad would drag me out of bed because I just didn't want to go, or I just like wouldn't wake up because I just keep sleeping because I'm so tired because I don't eat anything. And like my parents have seen this trend where like they can tell something's wrong once my grades start to dip. So my grades started to do that, and they were like, so what's up? And I was like, well, all of this crap has been going on. And then just me being like pretty angry about my old friends leaving and then it happening again. And I was like, yeah, so I may have written a suicide note and thought about it a lot. And I was like, but I'm fine now. Because I had kind of gotten over it myself, which is weird because I just didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, no, I don't think you are. And it became a thing of like, do we need to send her somewhere? And I was like, no. The only thing keeping me from falling apart is band, which is why band is like the love of my life, because it is the only thing that has kept me sane the past 4 years. And I guess 7. Yeah, because I started in middle school. So when they were like, okay, we won't, but we need to go reevaluate my medication for anxiety, because clearly the dosage was not enough. Yeah. It was not enough anymore. And they were like, well, now it became anxiety and depression, so we had to find a new one. Got on that, was perfectly fine. Fixed the thing with my best friend. Her and I are best friends now. And it was so hectic. And I was just still so upset that they literally never did anything about that kid. And they still haven't.
Yeah.
They literally did nothing. And it was funny because they called me into the safe office because 2 of my friends had reported me for like kind of being like suspicious and just like a lot sadder than I had been before. And they called me to the safe office. It did not feel safe at all. This lady was prying me for answers, and I was like, ma'am, respectfully, I'm like on the verge of tears, like sitting in that office. I'm like, ma'am, respectfully, we're dealing with that outside of school. We've already talked about it. Like, please, can I just go back to my class? Because they pull you out of class.
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't have called me in during like 7th period, like at the end of the day. No. But they were like prying me for answers, and I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. You are a school administrator. I do not trust you.
Yeah.
It is just...
I will say, good on your friends for saying something to someone when they saw something.
I was like...
Good friends, but that's bad administrators.
Yeah. And like I told my friends, I like went up to them because they didn't tell me their names, but I literally saw a sticky note sitting right in front of my face to 2 people that reported me. And I went and talked to them after. I was like, hey, no, like I'm doing fine. Like I know they said they wouldn't tell me, but like I looked anyways. So, and like I explained it, but like I sat in that class for like 20 minutes, them trying to get answers out of me, like being like, are you okay? I'm like, clearly I'm not. Please just leave me alone. You're making me more distraught than I already am in this room. And I don't know. And they had like 3 administrators in there. I'm like, no, no thanks. And I know like the safe office has been helpful for like some other people, but like my experience with it, after them not doing anything about it freshman year, I was like, I don't trust any of you, which was valid. So I
I
even
We're
brought it up
being
to
trustworthy.
Yeah, I haven't trusted anyone in the school since I had bad experiences in 8th grade and sixth grade when I was bullied, and basically their response was, "Well, let's just remove him from the class and not actually fix the problem."
Yeah, moving people around doesn't do anything.
It was just like, let's move him from one class to a different one, and then years later, the same guy shoved me into a wall again.
I've been shoved into a wall
And he
too.
told me snitches get stitches.
I've been told that before too.
Which I'm like, I mean, I feel like I had a valid reason what I was doing. You were shoving me
perfectly
into
valid
walls
reason.
and insulting me, and the teacher knew. The teacher knew 100%. He was just like, nah, this is too much
like,
paperwork to do anything about
It's like,
this.
I didn't see it. It's not my problem. But
And then the guidance counselors never do anything. My parents had to go to
No.
the principal just to get me removed from the class.
yeah,
Oh my gosh.
all the guidance counselors are conveniently never there. The guidance counselors give me anxiety. Literally, my entire
Guidance counselors are so unhelpful.
They really are. They're not guidance counselors.
I'm sure there are some that are good.
Yeah. My
Like-
one now is really good because she's like specifically the 504 guidance counselor because they added that this year, and I was like, thank goodness. And because I dated her son and she really liked me, so she did everything she could for me. So that really helped. Yeah, but like, and then we get to junior year. Junior year just sucked. I think all of us had anxiety and we're all depressed. So
I was definitely depressed senior year. I'm mostly fine. Junior year, yeah.
Junior year
That
was
was also
great for me. Senior
the year
year,
my cat died.
yeah,
So
yeah.
junior year, I was running on like 3 cups of coffee a day. If I didn't have 3, I was dying. I just couldn't do online school. Anxiety high. They
it
were
was
like,
the first time I truly realized that I was actually depressed and not just, it wasn't just
Sad.
a small thing. Yeah, it wasn't just
Mhm.
like sad or I need to change something about what I'm doing. I was just genuinely, there was nothing I could do about it. It was being completely consumed by bad thoughts and sadness and being exhausted constantly.
yeah, because I don't know, just online school
And also
just wasn't it for me.
loneliness. Yeah, loneliness was what hit me hardest with online school.
I realized
As
then
an
how much
extrovert.
I really did enjoy being around people a lot of the time, and like how much I really appreciated, like as much as I hate school, how much I appreciated the school schedule being like, I have this amount of time to do things, I'll just do it now.
Yeah.
So, and of course,
Yeah.
senior year I came back and that just wasn't it. The schedule was not it. So,
I was kind of chilling this year. Senior year wasn't too bad. The end got a little rough.
Oh,
and
yeah.
When the church
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
happened, that wasn't fun.
yeah, I feel like when all the church stuff started to happen was when my life really truly just started to like fall apart again.
Which was
Because we kind of fixed in, because everyone was really depressed and had a lot of anxiety during COVID, so I wasn't alone, so I didn't feel like alone, feeling like depressed or anything. And like eventually I got to see some of my friends, but it
when
wasn't
the
on the
church
level where
said,
you know like
"Feed us to
there's a
lead us."
difference between feeling alone and being depressed and like not being alone and depressed like everyone else is. So you're just kind of like,
Yeah.
we'll just vibe being depressed together. Like that's what
Yeah,
it
we're
is.
sad, but we're doing it together.
Together.
Yay.
So screaming children. Yeah.
I feel like for me, junior year was like really great because that was the first time that I actually had friends. Like everybody else was like, "Oh no, we gotta stay home. I never get to see my friends." But that was actually when I started making friends for real, and like the online school felt very normal because that had
Yeah, I
just been
wasn't
my
used to
life.
that.
And so I was just like, I was thriving junior year because like I made friends, I got a job, I started volunteering at Summit, and yeah, and I started addressing a lot of my like mental health problems. Like I stopped drinking coffee and I became way less anxious.
Same. But coffee kind of helps now because we also found out this year I have ADD. Really great. We figured that out after very long nights of me sitting at a computer staring at it and not be able to do anything at all. And I would cry because I couldn't do it, but I knew how to do it, but I was too tired to do it.
Yeah.
Really fun. And they were like, well, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just like because of COVID. I'm like, no, like I literally cannot do anything because I just can't.
It's just like, yep,
So
there's words on this screen.
yeah,
Don't know what they are, though.
yeah, it was just.
What does it
and
mean? Who knows?
during that time, I was like, I'll have friends that can get me through it. And like, of course, like y'all were part of that. And then I had like my other friends that are now not my friends, which we'll get to that in a second. I was like, they'll help me get through it. No, y'all did. They, however, did not. They made the poor decision of being so rude. And like a lot of my absence, honestly, from this year has kind of been like from them. A lot of, well, words. Honestly, because they're definitely, it was a group of 5 of us, including me, and they were those types of people that like always needed to hang out. And like whenever, I mean, like obviously I was friends with them kind of conveniently because like we all knew each other. We hadn't really like definitely talked because of COVID and stuff, and I was a part of a different friend group, which also fell apart in the summer because they out of nowhere said that I was terrible, and it was very awkward because I'm like all the way in California, and they were conveniently like, we need to talk to you, blah blah blah. It was like this and this is wrong, and I just they literally stressed me out so much because there was only so much I could do about it. And I was like, I can't believe I'm losing friends again. Like it had been like an annual thing, kind of like at the end of the year, might as well lose our friends. It's been a trend now. I think all 4 years that has happened. And so we get to like, I went on, for those who don't know, I went on a trip to Washington, D.C. over spring break because my band program 2 years ago got invited to go to Washington, D.C. and play with the U.S. Army Band and just go to Washington, D.C., have fun. Went there being very excited to go with my friends, but there was some pent-up stuff that we had needed to talk about, and I had politely asked a couple of times to talk about it and saying that like we have some things that we all need to talk about for the good of this group if we think this is going to last. There have been some tension in the group anyways, but they're the type of people to not talk about it, like not just ignore it, just wait for it to go away. And I'm very much not that person most of the time. I was like, especially with these people, because I was like, you guys are like kind of all I have left except for like some other people at church. And I'm like, I don't see my church friends every day, so like for school purposes I'm like kind of need y'all to like stay with me because I don't really at that point have a lot of other people that I can contact at school to like hang out with or whatever. And they are very much the type of people to always need attention all times of the day and always want to hang out but never actually plan it. It's always very last minute. I never got more than like a 24 hours notice. And if I did get a notice, half the time it'd be like, oh, we thought we told you. You didn't know. Like it's almost like it becomes then my fault because apparently it was a group thing that all of us knew about. But conveniently, Madelyn didn't know about it till last minute. And then they always made me feel like pretty terrible for like not going to things with them because there were some stuff that like I legitimately couldn't make it to because my parents said no. And after I had asked, I'm like, well, I can still go get dinner. I just can't go watch the movie. And it was like after a football game, and they're like, oh, but we really want to go see the movie. So they went and watched the movie without me. They proceeded to like literally gaslight me on not wanting to watch the movie because I think it was Shang-Chi that they went to go watch without me. Yeah. And then they like kept making jokes about it. I have now seen it. It is a very good movie. And
Not the point.
Like if you didn't hang out with the group, then you were always like 10 chapters behind. And I really hated that because I don't know, they always made me feel really bad about it. But I also thought I literally had no one else to hang out with at school. So I was like, I'll just keep going. It's fine. So then I would literally cancel everything I had to go out with these people and like go do things with them. And also church is a little rough. So it was kind of like I honestly kind of avoided the fact about what was happening with church with my other friends because I just didn't want to go to church anymore, honestly. I really questioned if I actually wanted to include myself there anymore. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a easy get out, I guess. And then we get to DC. It is a complete, utter failure, honestly. I had so much anxiety at the point, like, I had so much I needed to tell them about, like, honestly, like, anxiety, depression, ADHD, or ADD-wise, and, like, they are also the people that never, like, they can never be serious at the right time. They can't sit down and have a conversation and, like, have real things to talk about. Like, it's always a joke. It's always something that's, so whenever I would try to, they're like, well, just plan a time to talk. I'm like, but y'all physically can't do anything 24 hours before. I'm like, so this makes it a lot hard. So when we all hang out, I've become very sad and like very uninterested. It's like, I was happy to be there, don't get me wrong, but it was also like, I was just so scared that I was going to say the wrong thing because they are big jokesters. So anything you have said will and be used against you, no matter when. And it doesn't matter about what, everything is a joke. And they're like, oh, we just don't. That. They're like, whoa, just don't take it so hard. I'm like, but if you knew me as a person, you would know that I'm not the best with jokes, and it is something I'm trying to work on to not take literally everything seriously and to heart. But it's like, I feel like they never sat down and really got to know me. And
these
especially
are the people
with
who called you a drug addict for taking medication, right?
Yes, because right now I'm on the antidepressant anxiety one. I have my ADD one now, which is lifesaver. I can sit down and do things, can sit in math class and do math questions. So thank the Lord for that. And then I recently got on Accutane for my acne because it is just so bad. Like, it got to the point where it hurt on my face. And I was like, I can't do this. So yeah, they called me a drug addict they're like, are you an addict? Like, are you going to get, like, they were like, you're going to get addicted. And I was like, no, this currently is keeping me sane right now. And I would say the opposite for me, which is really hilarious because one of them, I thought she would, I mean, I really thought all of them were my friends. Like, one of them was very quiet like me, very fairly reserved. And I thought her and I had this unsaid alliance to where, like, if anything really went haywire, like, we would still talk to each other because I feel like she knew me the best, honestly, towards the end. And then another girl, we had a very, very close relationship because two of our friends were in the brass line, we were in the woodwood line, and we, like, didn't have a seventh period at all. So her and I got really, really, really close. And we also had Valencia classes outside together, and we would drive together to them. So we just carpool so we could use less gas and we'd switch off. And I got so close with her. Like, she honestly knew most of me, and I thought, you know, her and the other girl would be able to understand me on these things. Then the last girl I thought would understand because she also deals, like, with anxiety and depression, and not to mention is on Xanax. And I'm like, how do you think I'm gonna get addicted to drugs when you are literally Xanax for ADHD? I'm like, it's not adding up. That's fine. And they said that in DC in the hotel room when no one was around, and that really freaking hurt my feelings because I was like,
yeah, it should. That's not okay.
I'm like, have you not? To someone. And no one else stood up for me, and I was like, you serious? Like, you seriously just don't? And I was like, the fact that no one else could say anything, be like, yo, that's a little low. Like, why would you say that? No one just said anything. And I was like, well, okay. I think I cried every single night of that trip. I had the most fun when I was not with them, honestly. Now, there were a couple moments with them that was truly very fun. But just, like, towards the end, the last, like, 2 days were miserable. They left me in a museum with another guy. And the guy and I, because we all walked into that museum together. It was one of the art museums. It's a really big circle. It was really cool. All my pictures from there are awesome. And I was with this other kid, and him and I were, like, genuinely looking at the art and, like, theorizing and stuff like that, because the art was truly very cool. And they had one of these levels. It was a big circle. And the artist, like, did paper art, but, like, with rope and stuff too. It was really, really, really cool. And him and I were just, like, going to the museum slowly but efficiently because we only had a couple of hours. And just, like, talking about, I don't know, any questions he had because he was a junior. And I was like, oh, so you excited for senior year next year? Whatever. And then I get a call because they had been walking faster. And we were like, we'll just take our time. We'll catch up with them eventually before we walk out. And we get this call, and they're like, yeah, so we're in another museum right now. So, yeah, take your time, I guess. But, like, we're on to the next one. We're leaving you. And I was like, okay. Him and I just looked at each other, and we're both very reserved. And I could tell he's also that friend that, like, does get left out a lot because he's quiet. And but like was completely fine. Like we were having great conversations. We both just like each other rolled our eyes and like just kept going through the art museum because it was so cool. And they were like, the way that friend group also works is like if you don't agree with them and if you're not on their train, then like you're getting left, like you're out. And I couldn't stand being left out because I was like, I don't want to be alone. So, which is really literally not the case. I have so many people that I could have hung out with that I probably would have enjoyed myself a lot more. But and like for this trip, we were getting home at like 10:30 every single day, and having 4 girls shower at night takes a while. So we weren't getting to bed till like 12, maybe even 1, depending on how late we got back. And there was this one night where I was just over it because it had been only jokes, and the whole thing was to basically I get gaslit and just made fun of like every day, but I'm like, oh, they're just joking. I just played it off as that. And it's always like, shut up, you're wrong, blah, blah, blah. Like, just things like that. Just little things every day that I just got so angry about. And I had planned to talk to them about it because it really made me upset. And I also wanted to tell them how I had ADD, and they didn't think to ask about it till they saw me reading a book that I have. I don't think I have it right now. But it's like, we also found out that I'm considered a highly sensitive person, which is like a personality trait, but like not really. Genetically, it happens, whatever. It's a whole thing. But basically, I'm genetically just more sensitive than most people. Just, that's what it is. And I'm like, well, that's nice to know. Because honestly, I filled out a survey for it, and I literally checked off like 85% of the boxes. I'm like, well, and that book has taught me some stuff that I now use to my advantage, and it is very nice. And they were like, well, how come you never tried to tell us? And I went, bruh, I literally tried to tell you because just never wanted to know, I guess. And whenever they would only see that I was upset till I became like visibly upset. Like I was rageful at that point. I lost my cool. That was the only time they could tell that I was truly upset. And that's what happened at DC. I was tired of showering last because I hadn't been getting sleep, and we had our big concert that we were literally there for. And it's like 12:30 at this point. We've already had our bedroom check. And I'm like, guys, I literally just need to go to sleep. And they kept messing around. And I was last to shower. I'd been last to shower every single night. And I was like, whatever. No big deal. But this was a big deal because I was like, I haven't slept more than like 5 hours. And I really need to sleep. Because in order for me to like have a brain tomorrow morning in front of all these really cool, amazing adults that are better than I could ever imagine, this was a business trip nonetheless, honestly. And I'm like, I need sleep. And they weren't going to the showers. So I was like, you are not going to shower. I'm literally going to go. I'm like, I'm getting annoyed. I'm like, I've been annoyed all day. And this trip, honestly, has been fun, but you guys are making me very, very angry at this point. I'm honestly done with the crap. I'm saying this now nicely. And I'm like, I've been trying to talk about this, but no one has thought to bring this up. And I just have so many things that I have to say, but we cannot deal with them now. So please just stop doing what you're doing. Because they're like running around the room. It is 12:30. I'm like, hello? I'm like, you said you would shower like 20 minutes ago. So I try to go walk in there, and they're like, no. I'm showering now. I waited then 40 minutes for the shower, and they got very upset at the fact that I had yelled at them. And I was like, yeah, because I was angry. I was like, because you literally were being rude. I'm like, you were being so rude. So that was so fun. And then basically like 2 weeks after, we didn't talk. They literally straight up ignored me at school. Sat at the same table, they would turn, face the other way, and talk to each other. And it was a mess. I had sent out a text message like 2 days later being like, I'm sorry for the way that I blew up. Because I lost it. I was screaming. So I was just so
As you
done.
should be, because that was valid.
It had been happening for months. Like, since Shang-Chi came out, that's when I was like, oh my gosh. And I just had so much anxiety in this group that it was just unbearable at that point. Like, I had to talk to them about it. And it just got to a point where it was unbearable. I don't have to deal with this. And I was like, so I apologize for how I blew up, but I don't apologize for what I said. Because what I said was valid. I told you how I felt. That just happened to me through me screaming, because clearly the only way y'all will hear me is if I'm screaming. Because if I'm screaming, none of you can scream louder than me. So you kind of just have to listen. And it came back with, we don't know if we can accept this apology. So I took that as, and like with the behavior at school of him clearly just ignoring me. And so finally, somehow, some way, we set up a time after the fact that they had sent more text messages because I was like, I'd sent another one being like, clearly my first olive branch did not work. So here I am doing it again. And just kind of reiterating what I had already said and kind of being like, this is how I felt. Kind of explaining more things. Like, again, if you want to continue this in a safe space before this gets even more toxic than it already is, and if you want to, like, save this, because, mind you, we had grad bash in about a week, we had prom, we had graduation. Those are the big 3 events that we'd all been looking forward to. And I was like, dude, I really don't want this to end like this, and I'd rather just talk about this and fix it, man. Because I do love them. And it came back with how I'm terrible and how I use my mental illness as an excuse, how I'm basically faking it. And I'm like, they're like, you love to just create drama? And I'm like, what? It was just whatever. So we set up a time to talk. I had 3 conditions for talking. It could not be on typical ground, had to be in a private setting, and it needs to be quiet. Because honestly, there was no way I was able to like coherently say my thoughts without it being like dead silent or mostly silent. You know where they picked to talk? They picked to talk at Zaza's inside at 6 o'clock on a Thursday. Literally just blowing all the things that I had requested out of the water. So I get there and I'm about like 10 minutes late because it's 6 o'clock. I tried to account for traffic. Traffic was worse than I thought. So I'm like 10 minutes late. So I call them. I'm like, I don't see y'all outside. Are you inside the restaurant? And they're like, yeah. We're like, we thought it'd be better if it was louder. Like, that's literally not what I told you. I was like, well, can you at least come sit outside so we're not, like, inside of a restaurant? I felt so trapped inside that restaurant. I felt like I didn't have an escape. But they were like, no, we already have our food. And they're like, oh, tell her that she's late. And I was like, I'm going to lose it. I'm like, I'm late because you chose the worst place at the worst time. And traffic was worse than I thought. And so I'm like, fine, I'll just I hung up, I walk in there, and I sit and I'm like man spreading, and I'm just like this, straight face. Because I'm like, I really don't want to do this right now. And no, they start off with, how's your Thursday? I was about to lose my mind. I was like, are you?
That's why you stand up, flip the table, and
I was about
leave.
to. I was in my brain doing that. And I said, well, it's a Thursday. I was like, so I have a question to start off. I was like, why after 3 weeks do you decide now to talk to me? Because this is after grad bash at this point. And they had found out that I wasn't going with them and they got upset. I was like, you literally ignored me all week and you expect me to go with you? No. But the whole situation, every question that I had asked, they didn't give me an answer. And it was backed with a question back to me. And then they basically told me that I was a terrible person. So I walked out. I said, I need a second. So I walked out and I called one of my friends, Jayla, because she knew pretty much everything about the situation and used to be friends with them. And she's like, dude, you gotta walk out of there. She's like, it's been what, 5 minutes and they're already gaslighting you? She's like, that's a new record. I was like, this is true. So I was like crying outside. I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can go back in there. I'm like, but my stuff is in there. And she was like, you gotta sit down there. Tell them it is what it is. And you're just not interested in having this conversation. You don't have to deal with them and you don't have to deal with their crap. Went in there, that's what I said. And they were like, I was like, y'all just don't like to listen. Like, you can't, you're not. I'm like, and they're like, oh, so you're asking us to change? I'm like, I'm asking you to be decent people.
I mean, yeah, that is what.
I mean, just a little, because you're kind of.
That would be nice. Thanks.
Yeah, and I was like.
I mean, if you're offering, that would be great.
I should have said that if you're offering.
You could stop sucking. That would be fantastic.
But it was just. Oh my gosh, it was so. And I walked out there. I said, I don't have to deal with you. I'm not going to be stressed my last 5 weeks of school. Like, I want to have a good time. And I have so many other people that would rather hang out with me and do things and, like, not be problematic. So, thank you. And she said, then this friendship isn't for you. And I said,
yeah, bye. You're right. Bye.
I said, you're right. Goodbye.
Correct again.
I cannot believe.
Looks like you guys were listening. Wow.
No, for once you did it! Yay!
If I went to somebody and was like, hey, here are the things that are problems in our relationship, and these are things that I need, like, something needs to happen so that,
Yeah.
you know, we can continue being friends, and they're like, you want me to change? Yes.
You want me to change
the whole
me?
Yes, please.
So I walked out of there and they were like, and as I'm walking out the door, I look back and I'm like, wow, I feel great at myself right now. I just walked away. Like, I ended it. Like, I did that. I openly chose to not do that. And then I went and cried in my car because those were my friends, but like, were they?
Yeah.
At one point they were, but it just, ugh.
Not very good ones, clearly.
And then I got all my other relationships back, and now I feel a little bit better. So I'm a lot more free than I normally am. So, yeah. Anxiety's on down low now because I don't have people telling me how terrible I am every second of the day. So, and it was always effective, like, how small I am. Because, like, I'm a small human being, but it's always like, you're so skinny. Like, you're too small. And I'm like, guys, please, I literally have problems with my weight. Like, and they're like, oh, of course you would only, like, of course that's only your problem. Because I talked about how something was, like, too big. And just, like, it like, nothing, like, fits. Because I have weirdly long legs for, like, how tiny I am. So, like, trying to find pants that literally work is difficult, but it's fine. And they were like, of course you would say that. They're like, because you're just so little. And I'm like, that's not what I was talking about. But, and then whenever they would go to hug me, they just always made it a point that I was so tiny. I'm like, I get it. They're like, are you eating? I'm like, yeah, this is the healthiest I've been, honestly. Like, weight-wise, like, I'm finally not underweight anymore, which is great. Because for a while, I literally just could not gain weight at all. And I don't think I hit 100 pounds till, like, 9th grade. It was rough. But, like, my willpower, nothing would work. And, like, especially when I went through all of, like, my marching band stuff, like, with shin splints and my whole anemia thing, that was so scary. And they were never there. I also did kind of keep that somewhat to myself because I didn't want to look hurt because then they wouldn't let me march. But, like, I was going through so much, and it was kind of just, like, a joke to them. Like, oh, so if you stand up, like, an insult was, like, just stand up. Because, like, if I stand up too fast, I could fall over. But that was always a joke, and it just, and they're like, oh, you have to drink Pedialyte? I'm like, yeah, because it's keeping me alive right now, man.
I will say I had very similar experiences to you in a lesser extent with my old friend group, which is the same group that ditched me when I was in 6th grade. Or not 9th grade. You know, numbers, they're all the same.
Yeah, it's just...
But, yeah, I tried to bring up an issue because they were constantly insulting me. Every word that came out of their mouth after, like, when I was trying to say anything was an insult or a funny comment based on what I said. And it didn't feel like they actually listened to me or cared about anything I said, especially since I had been through a lot. And a lot of that was caused by them, and they would not recognize that. And so I, at one point, straight up brought it up to one of my friends who I had been friends with as long, like, I don't remember. I wasn't old enough to remember a time that I wasn't friends with him. We met in preschool. And I told him, what you're doing is not okay. And it's not you specifically, but it hurts the most from you because we've been friends for so long. And he basically just told me it was my fault and that I need to grow up and stop being a baby about it.
Yeah, because I can't take a joke.
Yeah, and I was like, but the issue isn't that you're making jokes. The issue is, A, I'm going through stuff right now personally, and you're not caring about it or listening to me when I bring it up. And if you do, you're making a joke. If I have to very calculatedly think about every single word that comes out of my mouth, or else I'm worried that you will stop talking to me. And it's not okay. I can't live my life like that. Yeah. And I told him that, and he basically made me feel worse and started insulting me more based off of it. And at that point, on that exact day, I stopped talking to him. Period. I was like, this is it. That was the last piece I needed to feel like I have closure in the fact that you are not being a good friend to me. You are only hurting me. This is a toxic relationship, and I need to stop talking to you. And I've looked back a little bit because I still want, if he decides that he wants to apologize or be something different, I want to be available. I want to be able to give him the chance to make up for what he did.
Yeah.
But I also am not going to actively be their friend unless he instigates. So I still talk to them sometimes. Recently I started again because 2 of my close friends are in that group, and so I only join the call if both of them are there. I feel like I have a group of individuals I feel safe with.
Yeah.
They're present when if I'm going to talk to them, so I don't feel like I am trapped.
Yeah.
And that's helped. I haven't noticed any issues since I started doing that. But I feel you. That was worse than what I experienced. That's horrible.
Like, it was just,
That's
it was
really
honestly,
horrible.
It was somewhat of a show, and their thing is they love to put on a show. They say they don't. They say they don't like drama. Like,
if
every
anyone
time
says I don't like drama,
they do.
They like drama.
They do.
Well,
Anybody
I don't
who
like
doesn't
drama, but that's genuine.
Yeah, but anybody who doesn't like drama doesn't have to say it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You're right.
And
unless somebody who does like drama tries to pin it on. In which case, I guess they do have to say it.
And they couldn't take responsibility for the fact that they had somewhat failed.
Not somewhat. I would say they have very much so failed.
They categorically failed at being your friend.
And it was really upsetting for me because, like, individually, like, talking to them was so easy. Like, trying to talk about, I don't know, like, a problem that I had with, like, one of them individually, like, was fairly easy. But it's just once you got into that group, it just became so toxic altogether. Like, all of us together just wasn't good.
It's not a
like, individually, I had great conversations with each one of them, and I could really feel like I could talk to them. But as soon as we got into a group, it became so cliquey, and it became, who's the most dominant is going to run the show.
Let me tell you something I've noticed. High school guys in particular, but some girls are not mature enough to have serious conversations with each other.
They're not. And I figured out that they are those people that just can't.
Most of the time, they purposefully choose to avoid them and will instead make jokes or just avoid those kinds of conversations. There's plenty of people who, like almost anyone in that group, I did not have a single tough conversation with or a serious conversation because they wouldn't.
Yeah.
There was the 2 people who I said I feel safe with, I had genuine conversations with. I don't think I really felt like I had a friend that I could be 100% genuine and serious with until you guys, specifically Reagan. Like, people just don't. I think it's just our age more so than anything else. People will mature and realize things as time goes on, but you just gotta push it off, and it's tough. It's tough, and you have to not take it personally.
Yeah. I love the fact that I get to, like, interact with my parents' friends a lot, and just like last night, like, one of their friends who, like, he comes over for dinner about, like, once a month, and we all just sit around and we have, like, amazing conversations, and it's like those are the friendships that you really want. And that's, for me, like, that's been the thing that's been important, is like I kind of ask myself, like, who do I feel safe with? And who do I feel safe with at certain levels? Like, there are plenty of people who I can interact with casually, but I'm also like, there are only certain people who I'm like, I really want to pursue deeper relationship with because I feel safe being genuine, and I feel like we can do that. And there are a lot of people, like, I think especially interacting with people younger than us, that I'm like, yeah, I like you, but I don't
You're
think
not
that I
mature enough
yeah.
for me to feel like I can have a safe and serious relationship with you.
And it was
Yeah.
hilarious because the whole running joke in that group was that I was the youngest, so therefore I was more immature. But honestly,
The fact that you like, good for you for having the courage
Honestly.
to get up and walk out of that room.
I'm
That's
honestly
the
like
best decision you could make in that
Like-
moment.
Yeah.
'cause with that, I realized how much like through that whole thing, I was like, I have like sacrificed so much other stuff for you guys, and you guys like literally can't do simple things.
Mhm.
Like I really stopped talking to you guys a lot because I was just so overwhelmed and I really just couldn't do anything. And I was so upset by that fact, but I was like, but I also feel like I couldn't do anything about it, and I didn't have like an answer to give if people were to ask. So like it's like I lost y'all, like I lost a lot of other genuine people that really did care due to them. And I'm like, once I saw how toxic it was becoming, I was like, I gotta step away. Like I need to repair all this other stuff that can be there for the long run, and y'all just can't. So, because they took up so much time and energy that it just like completely destroyed my brain. And I'm just glad that I walked away because like now I've like started to become close with y'all again, and I'm starting to be able to do things on my time. Nothing was ever my time whenever I hung out with them. It was always
They're in control.
what's convenient for them.
Yeah.
So
There's an element in a healthy relationship being able to meet somebody halfway.
Mhm.
One person cannot always instigate, and B, you have to compromise, and you cannot be one-sided entirely, because if that's the case, either A, one person's too dominant, or B, one person is just unable to stand up for themselves.
Yeah.
There's just some element of not caring enough about each other to be able to be serious, or not being mature enough.
Which
So
I will say to that, it's okay to have relationships like that to a certain extent. It's okay to have relationships where you don't care about the other person enough to want to compromise with them, where it's like, if I can't, like, there are certain people in my life that I'm not gonna like move my schedule around to be around, and that's okay because I have like my emotional needs are being fulfilled by other people who I'm actually close with. But if that's how you're, that's not a close friendship. And if you feel like you're sacrificing everything, that's just not healthy. Like it's
there
like
needs to be give and take, not just give.
Yeah.
And it is true. It's not good to just cut people out of your life entirely in a lot of cases. And I'm not saying there's some cases where it's not true. Like I said, sometimes the best thing is to just cut them out of your life.
Yeah.
If they can't handle the fact that you won't be there 24/7. But it's all right to be friends with somebody who isn't willing to compromise. You just have to work around that and not prioritize them above the other people.
Yeah.
Because that's
Set
the hardest
good
thing.
Boundaries.
Yes,
which is the
clearly
hardest
what
thing
we
in the
did
world.
not do.
Because you have to figure out, because to set good boundaries, you have to figure out what you want and what you need and how you actually can get that. And that's hard. And because then you have to set those boundaries and then you have to keep them, which means you have to have a level of self-respect that
and have tough conversations that the other person might not appreciate.
Yeah. Which I tried. They weren't having it. I tried a lot.
I think you did the best you could under those circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of with you through a lot of that and hearing about it at the time, and it was just, it sounded just difficult.
Like when I stopped going to church, like I essentially lost that like deep conversation stuff, because like that's where I had a lot of it. Like that's where I kind of talked about that stuff, because like I had Nicole, I had you and Liv and Jess. I was like, these are the people I need. Like that's it. Like my deep conversations come from this group because I feel like intellectually y'all understand and
care.
And
I think caring is often more than intelligence, which I've noticed with some of my other friends too, where like as long as they care enough to try and understand, it's okay if they don't. Sometimes it's okay.
Yeah,
it's the effort you put in sometimes is more important than the actual understanding gained.
Yeah.
But it just, they really put it in perspective of who my real friends are, and I'm just trying to fix all
COVID
that.
helped a lot of that with me too, because as soon as COVID hit and I saw who was not actively seeking to talk to me and who was, it was the moment of realization. These are the people I need to care about more than the other ones. If the other people reach out, great, I will talk to them, but they clearly didn't care enough.
Yeah.
Our relationship wasn't important enough, and that's okay. I don't need you.
I think that's the thing that has really helped me, especially anxiety-wise, because I didn't realize how much of my anxiety was based in the fact that I didn't have friends, really. I didn't have relationships that were fulfilling my emotional needs and my relational needs. And so I felt like every interaction was like my entire, like, you know, it felt like so much hinged on every interaction. So once I was operating out of a place where I feel like I was actually getting the things that I needed for the most part, and I actually had friends, and so I was operating out of a place of like safety, then it becomes so much easier to just be okay with things and be okay with people not liking you, or be okay with a relationship not, you know, developing the way that you want it or whatever. Because it's like you said, if someone like doesn't really care, and it's just like, well, that's okay. That's how it works sometimes. It's not like, you know, I feel
there's
like
nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong. It's just, it wasn't meant to be.
Exactly.
And that's okay. You have to learn to be okay that sometimes things just don't work out. And it's not your fault. It's not your fault. And blaming yourself is not fair to yourself.
It's not your fault, and it's not necessarily their fault either.
In some cases it is, though.
In some cases it very much is.
Sometimes it is
and
their
in some
fault.
cases it is your fault.
Yeah. Sometimes you are the problem, and you need to be able to recognize that. But don't assume you're the problem.
And you need to change.
The fact, if you assume you're the problem, you're not the problem.
If you're assuming that you're not the problem and you keep having problems, maybe take a look at yourself.
Yeah, look in the mirror for like a very long time.
Ask
until you realize that you are.
I think it's also important to like ask the people who do love you, like check in and be like, hey, is there anything that you need from me that I'm not giving you, or like any, you know what I mean, or like anything that I'm doing wrong, because that can be important to like invite
that is very important. And allowing for a place where you can accept your flaws and be able to voice the difficulties you're having with someone else is important for a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And if you don't feel like you can do that, then that's a problem.
Also, just listen to people.
Yes. Just
not that hard. You just gotta.
I mean, clearly I have experience in that department, but you just let people be heard.
Yeah.
Please.
So.
Yeah. So now it's me trying to repair things. Yeah.
It's okay though, because we good. We vibing now.
We are good now.
We're back.
We have all been bananaed.
Truly.
Sometimes. It was okay.
It's not about how hard you can banana. It's about how hard you can get bananaed and keep moving forward.
I'm sorry, Madelyn, your thing messed up again mid-lap, so you're like, ha, 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 ha.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, I
think
we're all good now.
But sometimes you just gotta ka-chow, you know?
Yeah.
Let's smash again.
How we doing?
We truly do live in a society.
You know, you may become trained, but that's okay. I feel
like we're all doing good now.
Yeah.
You know that Madelyn has got out of her toxic relationship.
Yeah.
My mental health's better than it's been in a while.
Me too. Yeah. I feel like I finally properly grieved Waterford. And
last summer, right? Like
I'm not
around
in
the
school
time
anymore, which is great for my mental health.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I'm chilling. All right. Well, everyone make sure to go check out all the links in the description. My streams, I've been streaming like twice a week.
Yeah.
I want
Check
to
'em out.
not be alone. Please come. Reagan's YouTube's also in there. Also, our other platforms. So if you want to watch on a different platform, do it.
We've got some extra stuff on YouTube, so
go check that out. We recently, I guess not as recently, but not too long ago, put up a Jackbox video. So go check that out. And also, I guess we should probably announce this. We are nearing the close of season 2. We are planning to take a break. So we will be back. Thanks for watching. And as always, ka-chow.
Ka-chow.